choice if you're a theater maniac.
Let's return to Midtown, our favorite scene. 'Cause now we know with 100% certainty, Broadway is back. Broadway is back, but is it really back? Just when we think we're okay, we're going back out of whack. COVID cancellations keep breaking my heart.
Every couple months it's like we're back at the start.
So I hope this time we're on the right track. And that Broadway is back. Broadway is back. Is it really Broadway? Broadway is back.
Can we do this?
Loud.
The CDC. What a PCR just to sit in a crowd. Every cough makes us cringe. Every attempt leaves us aghast. What do you do when every matinee could be your last? Is this the calm before the storm? Or is this life a strange new norm? Broadway is back, but is it really back? Just when we think we're okay, we're thrown back out of whack. All this quick flashcards in my mind.
Theater's usually the place I go to unwind. So I hope this time we're on the right track.
And that Broadway is back. Broadway is back. Is it really Broadway? Broadway is back. But what's the bright side? There must be a bright side. I can't make it through without a guiding light. Well,
I know. Who's been there no matter what COVID brings?
who's been there to salvage all our favorite things? Who's been pulling all the last minute strings? The understudies and slaves. Oh yeah, the understudies and slaves. Let's hear it for the understudies and slaves. So put on your ragged mask. Theater fans are up to the task. Broadway is back, it's really back. Broadway is back, oh no, it's really back. Broadway is back, oh it's really back. Broadway is back. Really? Yeah!
Give it up for Shiz! Oh, does everyone still wear a hat? BroadwayCon, how are you? Holy moly, I don't know why I'm frightened. I know my way around here. Oh my gosh, hi everybody, I'm your Broadway buddy Ben Cameron. I'm thrilled to be back here with you at BroadwayCon. Listen, give me a big screen if you're a scream if you're a theater kid, a theater nerd, a theater kid at heart here. I am so excited, my friends. We've done it. We're here. We're back together the way theater was meant to be experienced. Person to person, sharing space, sharing energy, sharing stories, sharing love. We're here with real human people. Not people in a screen, human people. Human people dressed as phantoms. Human people dressed as cats. Human people dressed as man-eating plants. Human people who can turn any moment, any conversation into an excuse to break into show tunes. You people. We are so lucky that we no longer have to be waving through a window. Oh, let's see what I did there. Oh, it's so good. I'm so excited. All right, we have an incredible weekend planned for you. I hope that are you seeing shows while you're in town? All right. We'll talk about that more in just a moment. And we're here in the summertime. Oh, you don't know how to feel about that? We're used to BlizzardCon. We're used to like marching 2 miles uphill both ways, just to touch a Six Queen in 45 feet of snow. And now we can just traipse on in our $12.99 shirts from TJ Maxx that I just bought. All right, to give you a rundown and a proper welcome, I'd like to welcome the founder of BroadwayCon to the stage right now to give you a hello. Put your hands together for Melissa and Ellie.
Welcome back. Well, I don't know what to say. We're so excited. Everything that Ben just said, I would like to repeat. It is so, we've had a really rough couple of years. Everybody has. We did virtual last year, which was wonderful in so many ways, and we'll be doing a lot of that in the future, but we did learn that there is something really special about what we do when we get together here. So we're so happy that you're here, and that you're being as safe as is possible, and that we are going to get back from all of this craziness together and have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah.
That's all I got. Just thought I'd tell you that. It's very exciting.
She's been deeply intimidated.
Yes,
Yeah.
just a little.
Yeah.
But again, getting people together who recognize that this is an important thing we do, no bigger stamp of approval than that right there. So have the best weekend. Thank you so much for supporting this event. It is because of you that we are able to do this, and it's because of you that we made it through this pandemic. Thank you so much.
Melissa and Ellie, without whom none of this is possible. All right, I have questions for you. This is so good. Where have you all come from? Yeah. Jersey, you're epic. Maryland, I heard Maryland. That's a good 3 hours. Chicago, thank you for coming from Arizona. Where you have your own time zone, you weirdos. California? Wonderful. Oregon? From Oregon? That's great. Puff, puff, pass. Fantastic. You'll feel right at home here in New York City. Bosnia? Colombia? You're from Colombia? Stand up. You came from Colombia. What are your names? Patricia and Jules. Patricia and Jules, is this your first time at BroadwayCon? It is? You come all the way from Colombia. That's unbelievable. London? Hello, London! Who else? Anybody? Do we have any Australians? Australian just was like, I can't. Plane and the thing. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Now, who is here at BroadwayCon for the very first time? Oh, my beautiful new friends, you are going to leave here changed. I mean, the way that a man changes into a wolf kind of way. There's a whole new species is how you're going to leave. Now, who's at BroadwayCon again? All right, my tribe, what I want you to do is I want you to wrap yourself, if they want you that close, figuratively wrap yourself around the new people, make a friend, tell them your favorite show tune, walk by them and say clang, 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 if they answer with the trolley, you're fast friends forever. All right, now how many of you watched the Tony Awards? All right, and how many of you agree with me that there was one moment on that Tony Awards that took the breath of the world away? And I think you know what I'm talking about. A young lady stood on the, what do you call that, a passerelle? Yeah, stood on the passerelle and sang the big song from Paradise Square. I have watched this over and over again. I don't know if anybody's planning on cosplaying as the single tear that went down her cheek, but you still got time to put it together, I think. She has stopped the world with her performance, as Nellie in Paradise Square, and guess what? She's right backstage. Once again, our 2022 Tony Award winner, Jaquita Caladondo! I mean, right? Stop the world, change the game. It was truly, in my opinion, one of the greatest Tony performance moments ever. You're here, grab a ticket to the show. When I saw the show before the Tonys, and it is instantaneous. You finish that number and the audience jumps to its feet, and it's electrifying. And we're so lucky to have you. We're so very, very grateful. I actually got to speak to Chiquita recently on, plug time, my podcast, the BroadwayCast with Ben Cameron. Go on Spotify and subscribe right now. But we talked right before the Tonys happened. Let me first ask you about that night. Do you remember anything?
Nothing.
Not one thing, just totally gone. But what was the feeling in the building as you performed that piece?
Oh my goodness, I think the energy, my first year I went was the year before, but it was at the Winter Garden, so this was my first time back in Radio City, and seeing everybody, 6,000 people in that audience, we felt that energy, and my cast and I, right before we went on, we were like, all right, let's go. We just don't have to give it to them, let's go. And it was so much fun. I just remember just feeling all of that love and energy and support flowing at us at that rate. It was crazy.
And then you run really fast and
Yes.
change into your fabulous outfit.
Yep,
and
change my hair.
Change your hair, and get on stage. All right, tell me just quickly, how does it feel to be part of Broadway's return and to be part of how Broadway is moving forward and changing and evolving?
It feels incredible. I mean, these 2 years were hard. I'm a person who, I love telling stories, and so to not be able to do that, I mean, there's nothing better than I think theater and performing and feeling the energy of the audience and going through that story. So to not be able to do that was just heartbreaking, but to be back in this season where there are so many incredible artists and shows to see is really exciting, and everybody's coming back, and it's just so much love and support. I'm really excited about that, and all of the new stories that are being told, and the way that our community is changing and it's more inclusive, and just all of the opportunities for everyone, right? To tell all of the stories, because there's so many stories to tell, so I'm excited.
And just very, very quickly, what if you were to give one quick bit of advice to any young performer who has lofty dreams, what would it be?
Ooh, never give up. It's never too late. And I mean, it's really never too late. If you want to start acting at 73, do it, right? It's never too late, so I'll just go for it.
I love that. My friend, Jaquita Caladondo.
Have a great time.
Unbelievable, absolutely amazing. All right, we have more surprises for you. More surprises coming at you fast and furious. Next up, I'm gonna bring out somebody. We should have some music. Someone should sing you a song, don't you think? I wonder, should that person be a Tony nominee, a recent Tony nominee? Should it be somebody who steals the show on Broadway currently? I think so. Welcome. He is an artist on so many levels, and as I mentioned, a Tony nominee this year, the fantastic, from Funny Girl on Broadway, Jared Grimes.
Everybody good out there? I said, is everybody good out there? All right, well, you know, this gonna be a good time. This gonna be a good time. Hey, what we got? I can't give you anything but love, baby. That's the only thing I've plenty of, baby. Dream a while, scheme a while, you're sure to find happiness, and I guess all those things you've always pined for. Gee, I hope to see you looking swell, baby. Diamond bracelets, swords, doesn't sell, baby. Till that lucky day, you know darn well, baby, I can't give you anything but love. Gee, I hope to see you looking swell, baby. Diamond bracelets, swords, doesn't sell, baby. Till that lucky day, you know darn well, baby, I can't give you anything. I can't give you anything. I can't give you anything but love.
Wow, Jared Grimes, everybody. Something funny girl, it was something else. Okay, all right. You ready? Okay. Nothing like a group of people that knows you. All right. To say that we at BroadwayCon are excited about the next session is a little bit of an understatement. The women who are about to take the stage represent immense talent, boundless passion, decades of experience, and a shared desire to see the world of theater reach its full potential to move hearts and change lives. Our first panelist, just making sure our first panelist is going to have a seat. We're going to give it a hot second. Our first panelist is a 4-time Tony nominee, winning in 2007 for her performance in The Little Dog Laughed. Now she is on stage in POTUS on Broadway. If you have not seen it, run. Making thousands of people scream with laughter every night as a female chief of staff trying to keep just one male president alive. Please welcome Julie White. Range the gamut from her Tony Award-winning performance as Celie in The Color Purple to her 2022 Tony-nominated performance as Willetta Mayer in Trouble in Mind. She is also a producer on the incoming Kimberly Akimbo and the revival of Top Dog Underdog. Please welcome the fabulous The Shants. Earning Tonys for her performances as Fosca in Passion and Anna in The King and I. She's also a celebrated television and film actress, lately appearing on The Gilded Age and Inventing Anna. Please welcome back to BroadwayCon, Donna Murphy. Our last panelist is an Emmy Award-winning actress who also has a few Tony and Drama Desk nominations under her belt, most recently for her performance as The Witch in Into the Woods. Alongside her rich career in television and film, she is currently playing the much-beleaguered First Lady in POTUS on Broadway. We are so excited to welcome back to the BroadwayCon stage, Miss Vanessa Williams. I could read you all of our moderators' credentials, but I don't know if we have that kind of time. We always say that BroadwayCon is for Broadway's biggest fans, and she is absolutely Broadway's biggest fan and champion. Through her decades of work as an attorney, First Lady, U.S. Senator, and Secretary of State, she has done more than rise through the ranks of power. She has presented an inspiring example of indomitability, grace under unimaginable circumstances, and strength through collaboration and service. For us here at BroadwayCon, she reminds us that there is something valuable and important in what we all do here as a community, gathering during these precious weekends, that we are better and even stronger together. It is my distinct pleasure and one of the great honors of my life to introduce Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton.
With 4 First Ladies of theater, and one who's actually playing that role at the moment. I am so excited to talk to these amazing actors and incredible women. So let's get started, and we're going to get to some of the audience questions that you have put in, because I want to be sure that you feel as involved in this event as possible, since it's really audiences like you that keep Broadway going, keep live theater going, and isn't it wonderful to be back together after the pandemic? You know, just this week I saw Plaza Suite and POTUS, and I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more shows in the weeks to come. But let's talk just a minute about what everybody's been through, because it's remarkable how stalwart, not just those you see on the stage, but everybody who makes that possible. And I loved that at the Tonys this year, understudies and all of the stage magicians were being honored. And now, 3 of you were on Broadway this season, and I know, Donna, you'll be back at City Center next season. So I'm wondering, what did it feel like getting back live? And Julie, I'm going to start with you, because I know POTUS had a lot of bumps along the way, right?
We had a lot of cocoa. But luckily, we all got it in rehearsal, but it was sequential. So our understudies would go on for us in rehearsal, and you would be sitting at home watching via Zoom and, you know, putting in your 2 cents, like what would happen if you went back over there, and da, da, da. But so literally helping us create the staging that we were coming up with. And it's scary because I felt rather invincible, like, you know, I've had it, you can't get me. But I noticed that after 3 months, Hugh Jackman got it a second time. And I'm right at the 3-month mark. So we have to continue to be vigilant in order to keep delivering our product to you. But thank you, science, for making it possible for us to go on and take something that was so deadly and make it a survivable illness.
Well, you ended with that point, and actually, I'm looking forward to a play that has a character urging us to drink bleach in order to deal with the virus. And if anybody could pull that off, it's Vanessa, who can do anything. And she and I were literally together with my daughter, one of the last events we did before everything shut down. And you were on your way to London, and then you came back. Tell us a little bit.
I was going to the West End at the Garrick Theater. We were in previews for City of Angels, which was a magnificent production. And Broadway shut down in London. I think there might have been 12 cases. So we knew that Spain was getting fully, or Italy was getting fully infected, but we didn't really feel it. And then Broadway shut down that Wednesday, and that Monday is when the Prime Minister got on and said that we're closing everything. And the British theater barely ever shuts down, even through World War II. I think they were like the last one standing. So it was devastating and traumatic and unfortunate. And then I came home and got COVID, along with the rest of the cast members who were, all infected, which we didn't realize until we, disbanded. And then, it was 2 years of talking about art, 2 years of making art from your home on Zoom. I did The Best Man. Michael Wilson directed that via Zoom. So we, which was put together beautifully. Right before I go, another play that I did via Zoom. I sang concerts, LaShawn's as well. You make it happen because of the circumstances and the art, which is so important to communicate.
Well, we really appreciated all your efforts that you were making virtually, since you couldn't be in the theater. And LaShawn's, you and Vanessa were founders of Black Theater United during COVID, right? And I remember talking to Vanessa about that on my podcast, but I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what led you to be part of founding this really important organization, and what do you hope that it will, be producing going forward?
Oh, well, we are so thrilled and so proud of the work that Black Theater United is doing. We came together, how it all started is I put out a tweet about something that I was feeling a little disappointed within certain members of our industry that weren't as vocal after the murder of George Floyd. And in the theater community, we are so active in supporting every organization that we came with. Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS. And I felt that, well, not only myself, but other founding members felt that we wanted some support from our community. And we thought that if we could pull together some of our fancy friends, I call them, in theater, our black acting fancy friends, if they come together and create this organization that can be a unified voice for change, and really add to the diversity of our industry. Not only on stage, we have lots of diversity on stage, but backstage and in the crew, in the pit, and other areas, we felt that we wanted to increase the diversity. So we got together, and Audra McDonald called me and said, we have to do something. Here's a list of friends. You call yours, I'll call mine. And that's exactly what we did. And the next night we had a Zoom, right, Vanessa? We got on our weekly Zooms every Sunday. Yep, during COVID, we would meet every Sunday and hash out what we wanted our organization to do. And we were able to come together. It took us about 6 months, but we were able to organize some of the leading professionals in theater and to come together and create what we call the New Deal, which is a document that we created that has a group of several sort of tenets that we're all agreeing to help diversify the industry.
I think that's so terrific, and obviously long overdue, but now you're on a roll, and there's so much that you can be proud of with the changes in awareness and consciousness, and most effectively in actually hiring and retaining and recruiting more diversity. So Donna, what are you going to be doing at City Center next? Because everybody always looks forward to seeing what you're going to do.
I will be doing a musical that was written by Jerry Herman, based on the Mad Woman of Shire, called Dear World. And it's a show that Angela Lansbury, the great, legendary Angela Lansbury, originated. And it's true to the original sort of mission of City Center, which was producing, or I should say encores at City Center, bringing shows that we haven't seen in a while, that maybe had limited runs initially on Broadway or haven't been revived in a long time, may be problematic in certain ways or challenging in certain ways, but giving audiences a chance to really see them and hear them in their full glory. We'll have our full, beautiful orchestrations, and I actually think that the show, which deals with a woman who is sort of in denial about what's happening in the real world around her during a very difficult time, post-war Paris, post-World War II, has a lot of relevance in our lives now, and I'd like to say I think it's all going to be over by next March, but I don't think things will turn around that fast. So she needs to make a decision about whether she's actually going to acknowledge what's happening in the world, to be a part of trying to change it and make it better. So I haven't been doing Broadway or 8 shows a week since my husband passed away 6 years ago, and I have a daughter. And I really realized with this particular person, I needed to be home more regularly, so I've been working more in film and television. I did do Dolly and alternate with Beth. Thank you to those who came on those Tuesday nights and Sundays. But that was a perfect fit for me in the moment, because my daughter was really traumatized by the loss of her dad. She was 10 years old, and I was trying to figure out how to make a living. I wasn't in a position to not work, but I was doing a television series, and I was set to do another show, War Paint, and I had to pull out of these things. And this offer came along, and it was a very complicated work situation for a variety of reasons, which is perhaps another conversation. But playing that role and being able to engage with audiences, I would never, in that first year of grieving my husband's loss, I don't know how I would have experienced the kind of joy and connection that I experienced being on Broadway, playing Dolly Levi, and communicating with the people across the lights and with my fellow cast members. And while it was very hard in many ways, it was an incredible gift. And I'm glad that I can step in for a little while at City Center. When they came to me with this, I thought, okay, this I think I could do. And I'm doing a television series, The Gilded Age, and they said that they were with so many other Broadway folks, which is a blast. And they gave me permission to take that time. So I'll do that. And then when Darby is in college, that's when they'll roll me out in the wheelchair. And I'll say, what you got for me? What you got? I'm ready.
But what you just recounted about your own story and about losing your husband and your daughter's loss of her dad, really reminds me of all the challenges women face in balancing life and work. No matter what kind of work you do, no matter what your family challenges might be, and it's even, to me, likely to be more difficult when you've got to get up every day on stage and play someone else. And each of you have had challenges. And how, as a woman in the theater, Julie, have you tried to balance all these different stresses and joys and opportunities and setbacks and triumphs? And Julie and I were just talking, she has a 1-year-old grandson, and so she's joined the great grandparent land that I'm a part of. But it's not easy getting there, is it?
No, it is not. And there is that thing where they say you can be good at your job, you can be a good parent, and you can be a good partner in a relationship. And I just gave up the relationship. So I have been a single mom. And I'm just gonna quit trying at that one. So I haven't had to take care of a guy. I just had to take care of my daughter. And the theater has been especially welcoming to me as a mom. Like, oh my God, I left her with the Kajels backstage on Broadway one time to go to a commercial audition. It's like, here, you guys watch her. Because I had a friend who was a Kajel. And just so many times she's come to the theater with me, she's been in a dressing room. It's been such an embracing community to me. And I know so many women don't have that luxury. They have to sort out their childcare so much on their own, because there are so many places where there is just no childcare available. You have to rely on your family, you have to rely on your mom. So it's an ongoing problem that I feel like people have a tendency to be like, it's terrible, everything is terrible. But incrementally, things do get better. Sometimes we go back, but we are moving forward. And in the show we're doing, we have not one, but 2 nursing mothers in POTUS.
Well, we see one on stage.
I think she actually pumped during her audition.
Well, Vanessa, you are one of the great examples of resilience and spirit and spunk. And because Vanessa grew up in the town that I now live in, I know what an amazing members of the community her parents were, she was. So as a woman, as a Black woman, coming up through the theater and everything that you have balanced, and you wrote this great book about all of that. What have your experiences? How would you distill that and share it with the audience?
Well, the book was called You Have No Idea, because people judge and assume that they know who you are, and nobody knows who you really are or what you've gone through. We all agree on that. So I wrote it about my experiences with my mom, because I wanted kind of a counterpoint of this is what I was going through. One example, when I was Miss America, I was a musical theater major at Syracuse. And freshman year is core year, so you have to do all your, bring the natural voice, piano, movement, and all your core activities. Second year, you're allowed to perform. And the first thing I did was actually Aaron Sorkin was in my first show called Swing Out on a Star. It was a review of Jimmy Van Heusen's music, and Aaron was one of our musical theater majors at Syracuse. So a brilliant writer, and of course, megastar now. But so my sophomore year, I got a chance to perform. And the local people that kind of scout talent for the Miss Syracuse pageant had seen me perform in that. They saw me in Golden Apple. I did Swingin' on a Star, which was a Frank Lesser review. And I had gotten cast in Cyrano de Bergerac as the Orange Girl, but it was an equity production and I would have gotten some of my equity points. So that was supposed to be in April. And I kept saying, no, I'm not a pageant girl. You know, I'm gonna be on Broadway, watch. And so Syracuse staged that production, fell apart. And I had April free, and I called my mom and I said, do you think I should do this Miss Syracuse thing? She said, is there scholarship money? Because I'd gotten scholarships every year. I said, yeah. She said, just do it. So they didn't even show up to the pageant. I sang, being good isn't good enough from Hallelujah Baby. Being good isn't good enough. So did that, I did that in my performance class. And bought a swimsuit from our local Sibley's downtown Syracuse. I don't know where I got my gown, but I ended up winning. And that was in April. And then July, and granted, I was supposed to go to London for my year abroad in London. And I went to the States in July and won July. And here I was, 20 years old, about to be a junior at Syracuse, and in September landing in Atlantic City, knowing that I had the talent and the intellect to win, but being a black woman never happened before. And at that particular year, there were 5 of us of color, which was the most I'd ever had. So odds were better, but again, history had never been made. And then I won. So I couldn't go to London, but I also had the responsibility of being the first, which was immense for a 20-year-old kid to have. And I have 4 children, I look at my kids at 20 and I think about, what did I go through? And what was that responsibility? And I didn't know who I was, and I didn't know what my beliefs were, but I did know that I felt strongly about ERA, I felt strongly about women's choices, and I was a Miss America that already was bucking the system anyway. So, and that's having wonderful parents and living in a community that holds you and supports you. So I have gone through lots in my life, but the resilience that you end up having when you confront struggle and confront judgment, which we all have on this particular stage, allows you to kind of dig deeper into, you know who you are. So all the chatter, you know what you're capable of doing, and you know that one of these days you'll be able to show people who you really are. So just stay the course and know who you are and sink deeper and deeper into yourself. And that's kind of what I've done my whole career. You know, because judgment and obstacles, you can't let them define you or stop you.
Amen. You have had some really serious challenges. You lost your husband on 9/11. You already had, I think, 1 child and you were pregnant, right, with your 2nd child. And I remember as a senator after 9/11 going to Central Park with the people from Cantor Fitzgerald, where your husband had worked, which lost more than 600 employees. And that was such a collective trauma, but for you, it was such a deeply personal loss. And here you were, a young mom, already an accomplished performer, but how did you think about your career, the obligations you had to your kids, the loss of your husband? How did you put it all together?
You know, I get this question, thank you for acknowledging that, but I get this question often, and in the moment, the shock of this for so many of us, the entire world was in shock when this happened, and so was I. I feel that I was in shock until my daughter was born, my youngest daughter, Zaya, because I was 8.5 months pregnant. She was to be born about 5 to 6 weeks later, and it was just a shocking time. And the only way that I feel that I was able to have the resilience to keep going was I kept thinking that my children have lost their father. They can't lose their mother too. So it was I call them my earth angels, because without my daughters, I don't know how I would have been able to succeed. I didn't have the time or the luxury to sit in the corner and lick my wounds. I had 2 cribs. I had a 1.5-year-old and a newborn that I had to take care of. And honestly, I hadn't thought about going into the business, going back to work. There was a time when I thought, I can't go back to the stage. I have to stay and take care of my daughters and figure something out. And it was Eve Ensler, formerly, her name, she's V now, but Eve Ensler, formerly known as Eve Ensler. V called me out of the blue and she said, "You're an incredible artist, you're an incredible performer, you have to get back on stage." She said, "I have a show that I'm doing called Vagina Monologues." Yep. And she said, "All you have to do is sit on a stool and fake orgasms." And I said, she said, "You can read from the script, you don't have to worry about doing anything, it's easy. And you don't have to memorize the lines, everything was scripted in our hands, and that's all you have to do." And it was only 3 weeks long, so just please get back on stage. And I credit her as being another one of my angels, because doing that, getting back to the theater after that experience, it reminded me of where my true power is. And my true strength is, and it is from being able to share what I was gifted to do, and it reminded me of that, and it was a source of comfort. So I credit V for helping me to get the courage to get back on that stage, and then right after that, I was back to it, and my girls were tagging along with me. They grew up in dressing rooms, and now one of them is a professional leading her own career. So, I say my children got me through. They really did. They gave me the focus and the strength, and it blocked all the noise out. So I'm grateful to them.
Oh, that's incredible. And, let's hear it for women directors like Eve, who understood what she could do to support you. And actually, Donna, have you worked with many women directors? No. I thought that might be the answer. They're really, I was just looking, Patti LuPone recently said she had only ever worked with 2 women directors. And, she's had a long career.
Yeah, I'm taking a quick inventory. I can think, I've got one. 2, I've got 2. Graziella Daniel, who's a wonderful choreographer and director and human. 2.
Yeah. What would the experience be like? I was so struck by LaShance's story. To have a woman director who maybe had some of the same struggles. Raising kids. What do you do with your kids? You're trying to get an audition, but you've got your kids with you, or you've got other challenges. I would hope that it would make a difference in how the crew and as well as the talent were treated.
Yeah, without making a blanket statement that every woman is the same and thinks the same, and every man is the same and thinks the same, I think the odds are pretty good that there would just be a different level of, intrinsic understanding and support and empathy that wouldn't have to be worked for, or imagined or reached for in the same way that it is for some men. And I will say that I've worked with some wonderful male directors who have been compassionate in that way. And then we were speaking of Graziella Danielle, and it was before, I was a stepmother for years before I became mother to my youngest. And I did have responsibilities to my youngest stepdaughter, I'll just say. It gets complicated in my family. We say we don't have a family tree, we have a family orchard. The Murphy Elliots. But, so I did have people who were understanding of responsibilities that I had, or why I had to say no to something because of family obligations, and putting family first, or needing them to compromise and to meet me halfway on something. But there's, in the few circumstances, and none of them have been since I've been a mother to Darmia, who is the only child I've raised since she was an infant. You know, I think I just have had a low expectation of what would be understood. And I just put it all on myself. I've got to figure this out. I'm not going to expect that anyone's going to help me here or understand. And if they do, okay, well that's, you know, that's great. That's a gift that was unexpected. But I think times are changing, and I think that, I mean, hearing Julie speak, and I would say,
you can add in about Susan Stroman.
We have the great Susan Stroman.
And it's a sense of ease. You walk into a room and there's all females there, and you can relax and be funny and ask questions and probe and know that there is no, again, judgment because you're a woman. Because
There was no right or wrong. There was no like that subtle patriarchy that's always kind of there, like, get it right, lady. In other words, to my vision. In speaking to this, I remember listening to NPR, the great Mike Nichols, a great director,
yes,
talking about the last theatrical production he directed, which was Death of a Salesman on Broadway. And talking to Terry Gross, he said, well, you know, it is about the most important relationship of all time, the relationship between a father and a son. I was like, really? Is that the most important relationship? You know, he wasn't saying to me, he was saying just blanket, that's the most important thing. So you just don't get that from a woman. She's not, I mean, but that was very much the theater. So like in our play, which is a farce, written by, originally she was 24 when she started it. She's taken the farce form, which has usually a few roles for ladies, the sort of harridan wife, and the hotsy-totsy, the babe, the bimbo, and then everybody else is funny guys. But in this case, it's all men. I've got the guy's role. I've got the Nathan Lane part. I've got the Zero Mostel part. I've got the Gene Wilder part. And the freedom to be that big, that loud, that fast is really, we take my dog sometimes to Junior's, and she gets her head up over the table and looks up at the food on the table and is like, what have I been eating? What's up here? I want to be up here. I mean, it really has been a big eye-opener for me.
And I think that's a really important observation, because these things sometimes are really obvious, but more often they're more subtle, aren't they? I mean, all of a sudden you look around and it's a different environment. Everybody is a woman, and what does that mean, and how does that work for everyone?
Yeah, you knock off early sometimes. A friend of mine, Zoe Lister-Jones, who was lucky enough to sit almost right next to you when you were at POTUS, and her mind is blown. But she's a fabulous young actress that started as an ingenue and then started to write and produce and direct. And the last movie that she directed, or the movie before last, she made a point of hiring an all-female, everybody, crew, camera, every camera operator, every focus puller, everybody's a woman. And you know what the hours were? 9 to 5. And when you do a movie with a male DP who's like, all of a sudden you're pulling a 16-hour day, and everyone is exhausted. They worked 8 hours a day.
You know, it's so funny you say that, because obviously I'm a recovering lawyer, and I worked in a lot of different legal situations, and as a very young lawyer, I remember, and we were in a highly intense, pressure-filled environment, and I remember one of the slightly older male lawyers telling me, he said, you know, if you go out to dinner, leave your door closed, they won't know you went. They'll think you're still working. I said, but don't they eat? I mean, isn't that part of what you do? He goes, no, you don't understand. It's all perception. And then when you get back from dinner, walk around the office and loudly announce to people, what are you all doing? Anything I can do to help? He said, even if you've been at dinner for never left. And I thought, oh my God, that is exhausting. I mean, just get your work done and then go home, right? So I want to get to the audience's question, but before I do, particularly for Donna and Vanessa, you worked with Stephen Sondheim, and I think it would really be interesting to the audience to ask, what was that like? I mean, we know we've lost this extraordinary, incredible talent in this last year, and you know, what was it about his work that made it appealing to performers and audiences? Vanessa?
Well, I worked with Steve for 2 productions, Into the Woods in 2002, I played the witch, and then Sondheim and Sondheim in 2010. And got a chance to go to his home in Turtle Bay, which was amazing, and just walking into like a time capsule of puzzles and artifacts and history. He did not consider himself a poet, which many people thought he was so poetic. He saw himself as, he loved diction and language. And in Sondheim and Sondheim, James had done a series of interviews with him, and we would come out and sing whatever song was pertinent to what he was talking about. And he used his life in, you know, writers write what you know. One of our most powerful moments in Sondheim and Sondheim was when Steve is interviewed about his mother. And he talked about, he got a hand-delivered letter from his mother who was about to go in for heart surgery. And the first line was, the only regret I have in my life is giving you birth. And the audience gasps. And then the rotating stage turns around, and you hear us say, careful the things you say, children will listen. And all of a sudden you go, oh my God. He changed and converted his pain and his misunderstanding into art. And at that moment that he says in the interview, he says from that moment on, he knew that it wasn't personal. She didn't want me around because she had other dreams. So to be able to detach yourself from what's happening in your life, turn it into art, and make it meaningful across all sorts of endless boundaries is what his true gift was. I mean, every time you hear a Sondheim, well, not every time, but it makes you tear up because there is some bit of truth into not a day goes by. If you've lost anybody, you know that's what you say to yourself. Not a day goes by that I don't think about my father who died at 70. You know, he connects to those small or big emotions in life that you can tap into on a daily basis. So, and he had a wonderful sense of humor, very shy. Every time I would see him, I'd tap him on the shoulder and say, hi, it's Vanessa Williams. And hello, Vanessa Williams. And it was just, you know, always surrounded by beautiful boys, always. And didn't find love until he was in his 70s, you know, late in life. Yeah, but it happened. But it was just one of those wonderful relationships that I cherish, and I was so happy to be able to continue his work, which is his music and his lyrics and his impression on what he did to the world. So I feel very lucky.
How about you, Donna?
My life was changed by Steve before I ever got to work with him, in seeing his work and listening to his work. And I auditioned for him a number of times before I was fortunate to be cast in first the workshop of Passion and then the Broadway production. And I was fortunate to go on and do several other shows, Follies and Anyone Can Whistle, both at City Center, of course, and then Into the Woods at the Delacorte. In 2012, another witch on stage here, lucky enough to explore that. And I remember auditioning for the original production for The Witch, and when I was asked to do the production that I did in the park, I thought, well, it is so meant to be at this moment where I'm a mother, I've lost my father, I'm at such a different place in my life, and I have so much more to bring to this. And throughout my life, and I think for many of us, we come to trust with a little more hindsight that things come to us really when we're ready. I mean, sometimes we don't feel ready, but for some reason it is meant to happen and come into our path. And me playing that role, I mean, I'm sure I would have done a fine job, but I think they did just fine with Bernadette Peters. Thank you very much. But I just had so much more to bring and to share, and to have been able to do all of those shows, including creating a role. And there's just, the only downside of Passion was that I thought, what will ever feel as exciting, as challenging, as beautiful, as much of a dream realized as this moment, as this series of moments. He was so brilliant, and I remember the first time he gave notes to us after hearing James, we'd been learning music, and James had staged a couple of scenes, and he came in and he watched, and then he gave notes, and I listened to him give notes to, at that time it was my beloved friend who's passed on, Marin Maisie, and great Marin, and Peter Gallagher, who was doing the workshop with us playing Giorgio. And so I listened to him give them notes. And it was so little about the music, but if it was about the music, it was about, the rest there is a shorter rest because she's taking just a gasp of air, because the orgasm is actually still like vibrating in her body. And I was like, I've never heard a composer give a note with that kind of specificity. There was no just, you need to pick up the tempo. It was nothing like that. And I was like, oh my God, I can't wait till he gets to me. I can't wait till he gets to me. I was just dying. And he had some notes for me that were things that James Lapine, who was directing and had written the book, and Paul Gemignani, who was our conductor, we had been talking about how manic to make her. I said, I don't think she's crazy. Her mind is somewhat warped. She's obsessive. She has some physical illness, but I don't think she's crazy. And Steve was asking me to do something that I thought seemed very, it just seemed too much. But it was my job to try it, because what he would do, he'd give the notes and then we would, execute them, try to integrate it into the work, and I did. And he said, what do you think of that? And I said, I'm not sure yet. I said, but I'll keep working on it. And then I kind of caught Paul Gemignani's eye for a moment, and Paul said to Steve, he said, Steve, I don't know, it's getting a little Norma Desmond. And I'll never forget, Steve, like this, said, what's wrong with that? He looked like Norma Desmond when he actually responded. And we all kind of laughed about it, but that night I went home and I wept to my husband. I said, I don't think I'm the actress for this production. I'm getting what he wants, and I think that I'm not the right fit. And my wise, beloved husband said, you know what, it's a workshop. It's time for you guys to work and play, and you're doing your job by listening to what he's asking you to do, but at the same time holding on, because I then talked to him in the moment about what I was concerned about, and he said, I'm going to think about that. And the next day I got called in and was asked to wait to come into the room, and I thought, well, that's it. I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get fired. And James was working with Marin and Peter, and he put his finger up and said, wait a minute, and then he came out, he said, just take a walk with me. And I thought, this is the walk. This is the walk that leads to, and thank you so much, right? I hadn't been fired yet at that point. Oh wait, no, I had been fired, that's why. I'd been fired from a sitcom. And I was like, this is it, this is the walk, been here. He sat me down, he said, I'm so proud of how you dealt with yesterday, because you heard Steve, you really worked on trying to integrate what he asked you to do, and at the same time, you shared a point of view, and this role has only been in Steve's and my own, each of our minds, and we need you to breathe through it. We need your voice, not just your singing voice and your speaking voice, but your actor's voice, you know, and your female voice. And I'll never forget that. And he said, so thank you, keep doing what you're doing. And I said, that's it? There's not a but at the end of this. And anyway, Steve, other than my husband and my father, has probably been the most important man in my life. And he also, I will add one thing before I become far too long-winded, which I'm notorious for. There was a day that we were performing previews, and you know, the show was a show that, this is passion I'm talking about, the character was hard to, for a lot of people, she was hard to tolerate, and I understand, sort of. It was my job not to understand as well for her, but anyway, it was a rough night with audiences applauding when I collapsed on stage, and hoping I would fall through and she'd never come back. And I came off, and Steve was waiting in the stairway that led to a bunch of dressing rooms, and he said, hey, are you having some fun? And I was like, well, I mean, Steve, it's so meaningful. It's the greatest challenge and the most meaningful job of my life, and to be doing. And he said, no. Are you enjoying yourself? And I was like, yeah. And he said, no. This is important. You must find the joy in this. He said, you don't always have this kind of a connection with a role, and I know it means a lot to you, and it means a lot to me, and I know the connection you feel. And he said, regardless of what you think is happening out there in the audience, if as an artist you don't allow yourself the joy of each moment, each challenge, you're wasting an opportunity. And I thought, you know, if some like happy-go-lucky director or pal was saying, hey, relax, just enjoy it. But it was Steve, who I knew was so hard on himself and saw the world in a complicated, nuanced way. So there was no one better to give me that message and to make me really own it, you know. Okay, I'm sorry I spoke so long, but I love it. That's incredible. Wow.
All right, so I have to get to the audience questions. This is from Meg, and it's really for anybody who wants to jump in. And I think we just heard a bit of an answer to this. How have you evolved as an advocate for women over time? Looking back at your career, where did you have room to grow? What are the biggest lessons you've learned? Julie?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think, you know, I started out, you're so young and you're like, look at me, Daddy, you love me. And, you know, it's horrifying. You're always like looking at the director like, oh, I hope he likes me. And then you grow up, as we do, and evolve, and you become more interested in what you want to tell. And I've been very lucky because I work off Broadway a lot, to work with a lot of women, and work on plays that were by women, about women. I did, when Alex was a baby, I did 3 productions of Quilters, boy, which was about a bunch of strawberry skirts, you know, all across America. But it was about the westward expansion of our country, but told through the history of the women, which you never hear about them. You know, when the guys are out conquering with their sticks. The women would come behind and try to make a garden, you know, try to make it livable. And so that was, once again, a cast of 7 women, and 2 of the 3 productions were directed by women. I worked with the great Pam Berlin. Off-Broadway, Teresa Rebeck and I started our collaboration when I was like 30. I did Spike Heels with her off-Broadway, and she started writing plays for me. So I got a lot of great validation and really being able to hear my own voice with a director. I am notorious for saying, I hate that note. That is a stupid note. I just don't take them because I began to see that the power is in me. The creation is in me. This is the paint box that I have. These are my paints. And I should get to use them how I want to. And so, yeah, it's become really irritating now. That's right. What did Mitch McConnell say about Mrs. Warren? We tried to shut her up, but she persisted.
Absolutely. And so shall we all. This is a question from Karen that I want to ask each one of you to give me a rapid fire answer. Do you have any special backstage or pre-show rituals you swear by, LaShawns?
Yes, I do. Depending on the role, if it's something that's very dramatic, which typically have been the case in most of the roles that I've portrayed, I do something as silly as I possibly can. I dance crazy, I listen to something like crazy music, and I just dance and really take myself to a place of joy, to that place. I get myself centered and reminded why I love doing this, and that I have fun, because it is fun. I'm an actor, I'm a singer, I get to be on Broadway. That is fun. That is fun, that is exciting. And when you're doing 8 shows a week, you know how strenuous that is. And so having an opportunity to just let go of all the stress and remember that I'm about to get out here and entertain people, that's what I do. I dance it off. I shake it up, shake it up.
Got it, love that, and I may steal that. Or just join you in it. I have a quote that somebody gave me years ago that was from, I always invert this, it was Martha Graham's biography of, hello, Donna Murphy, losing your mind because you're getting old. Agnes DeMille, thank you. You have to be with me all the time to help me. Which, the part that spoke the most to me is that it's about keeping yourself open. She references a time where Agnes had just opened in Oklahoma and it was, a great success. And she was really questioning herself because she said, I feel like I've done work that is so superior to this. And this is what, not that she felt negatively about that work, but she said, she was in a place of really just questioning herself, her work. And Martha said, there's a force, there's a life force that comes through all of us in a very specific and unique way. And you just have to keep yourself open. If you judge yourself, if you assess what is good in what you do and what is not good and what should have gotten more attention or didn't get attention, then you're cutting yourself off from being open to this force truly expressing in a way that will lose the opportunity to be voiced and be expressed in the way that only you can do it. As Julie was just speaking about, through your paint box, and so I read that every night. And the other thing I do is a little meditation where I take myself back to the first time I saw a professional theater production. And I'm just sitting in a seat and what was going on in my body, and so that I can really remember what it's like to be maybe that person who's seeing their first show. Especially, you know, 6 months in or 8 months in, you know, or whatever. It could be just a night that you're like, oh God, I don't know how I'm gonna get it up. But I just try to take myself back to, because what's my job? To give it to you, to give it away.
Vanessa. Well, that's very deep. I do my makeup because I want to be in control of what I'm creating. And it allows me to get into the character. Is it a red lip? Should it be fuller? What am I feeling? So do I light a candle? We're not allowed to have live candles where we are.
See her dressing room though, it's like out of architectural guide.
I always light a candle, and when I was doing Kiss the Spider Woman back in '94, '95, there's a number called Give Me Love where I got these yellow and green plumes and this whole Tropicana number, and I remember I was touching up my makeup and I smelled some smoke, and what is that? I look up and my plume is on fire because of my candle. And so I go and I get Kate, who's the wardrobe person, and she had to blow it out and snip off the top, and then I had to go and do the number. So I always have a candle. Now it's battery operated, and I do my makeup, and I just get loose. I play music and I do vocal warm-ups and just swing, just get my body loose, because normally, if you're doing a musical theater number, it needs, your body as a dancer needs to be warmed up. So it's just warming up, getting loose, and creating the character through my makeup.
Yeah, she'll also, anything you need in your life, if you're like, God, I wish I could convert this fireplace to gas. Vanessa's like, I have a guy. She'll text it to you, like almost anything. It's just amazing. And the great Julianne Hough is making her Broadway debut in our show. She's a terrific dancer. You can check out her Instagram story. She shows you her pre-show routine. She dances all through the theater with music and comes into every dressing room. And it's like, good show. I've listened to music depending on the show. Sometimes I have a whole playlist. Somebody gave me a Christmas ornament with Elvis singing Viva Las Vegas. But it finally ran out of juice. I used to push that button and play Viva Las Vegas before every production of Bad Days. But now, every 2 days, after I'm tested, I go out into the stairwell hallway and go like this. Hey, no! I don't have outfits! I'm jealous.
I just feel so lucky being up here with these four amazing women. And I know that from the applause that I would hear from the audience, a lot of you remember each of them in different roles, but I'm also looking forward to the future because there's a lot to worry about right now in our country and the world. And I think we need theater and the arts more than ever. So I'm going to give the final word to each of them by asking this last question. What haven't you done that you want to do? And we're going to start with you, Julie.
Besides the show where you and I solve crimes. I want to play the President of the United States.
Well, I can give you lots of notes on that.
You know I won't take them.
Got a chance to work with Cicely Tyson in her ripe old age, and Barbara Cook when she was 85, and being lucky enough to hook arms with these legends, bring them onto the stage because their knee might be bad or their foot might hurt, and see the joy in their eyes when we get off in the wings and they say, ooh, that was a good one. That's what I want to be doing when I'm in the 80s, 90s.
I'd like to do a Shakespeare play. I've been asked and have never been available at the right time. And I'd like to be brave enough to stand on stage as myself, as I know you two ladies do, and sing and tell stories as myself. I've been scared to do it.
And it is terrifying, but I have done it. But what I really want to do is help bring stories to Broadway and produce the diversity of stories. In fact, and I'm just putting my toe in it. I am co-producing Kimberly Kimball this fall. And I'm also co-producing the revival of Top Dog Underdog, a play. So I haven't quite got my toes both in, but I'm nervous and I'm excited, but it's really something that I feel is a part of my mission. Like you were saying earlier, things don't come until you're ready, and I think I'm ready to help tell the future stories.